A Joplin woman is dead following an apparent murder-suicide on I-44 in Greene County.
A local church in Fairland is able to come together at an event for families after being apart due to the pandemic. I'm Bronte Sorotsky with how they feel to be able to have an event like this again.
We have a preview of Vice President Kamala Harris's trip to Guatemala.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
We begin with developing news tonight as 2 people are dead following what authorities say was a murder-suicide. This is KOAM News at 10. I'm Chris Warner. Just after noon yesterday, deputies with the Greene County Sheriff's Office were called to check on a vehicle parked on an exit ramp at the junction of I-44 and State Highway PP. When deputies arrived, they found 2 people dead inside the car. During the investigation, authorities determined that 24-year-old Kaylin Barkley from Ozark shot and killed 27-year-old Gabriella Broglio of Joplin and then took his own life. Officials say the 2 had been in a relationship for several months. In Coffee County, Kansas, authorities are investigating an accident that left 3 people dead on the Neosho River near Burlington. Officials say the initial investigation shows a family of 2 adults and 2 children were boating on the river when they approached a low-head dam. The boat stalled and the operator lost control of the boat, with all 4 people being thrown out. Wesley Sharp of Shawnee, Kansas, was pulled from the water and is currently in stable condition. However, Maribel Moran and the couple's 2 children, ages 3 and 5, were taken to Burlington Hospital, where they were later pronounced dead. In the 4 states today, a nice day and then a few scattered showers this evening. Nick Kelly joining us.
Yeah, including a couple of random thunderstorms, Chris, but the worst they did was just bring some pockets of moderate to heavy rain. Thankfully, no severe weather as we wrapped up this weekend on this June 6th of 2021. A high of 82, that's where we topped out at Joplin Regional today after we started in the mid-60s this morning. The rain and thunderstorms scattered in nature that we had to start the evening out pretty much fizzled apart, and I think we're going to stay relatively quiet as we go through much of the overnight. That being said, our main upper-level storm system still spinning across eastern Oklahoma, and as long as it wants to keep passing right over us through the overnight and tomorrow, rain chances still in the forecast. At least we're in the upper 60s to lower 70s right now. I'm thinking everybody drops back into the mid 60s, 64 in the morning. Then we're going to see temperatures warm right back up near 80 tomorrow. But once we get the rain chances back in here, Chris, it could feel a bit muggy at times. We'll see if we can get rid of these rain chances soon and see if we continue to warm up later on in the week here in a bit.
All right, Nick, thank you. A church in Fairland is coming together for their first big event in a year. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky was in attendance and tells us why this is so big for the church and how they're feeling about gathering again.
After a year of COVID-19 restrictions, one church in Fairland is able to come together as a community.
That we're able to do so without restrictions and not needing to be as nervous when we do gather is really great, and to just have some normalcy and to not have that weight hanging over all the time and to just be out and enjoy is so good.
Pastor Jerry Jones with Hudson Creek Baptist Church says this is the first big event that they've had since the pandemic.
I think it's time for everybody to get back outside and enjoy the weather and get some time together with some friends and some community members. And so this is the first big event that we've done this year like this.
For church members, finally being able to hold an event like this is huge.
So to be able to loosen those up as the year came to a close, to be able to have church service in person, to be able to go around family more, and as more people are being vaccinated, to go to events, that's been really huge.
There were many activities like basketball games, a bounce house, and live music. And after talking with kids at the event, it's clear what their favorite part of the day was.
I liked about riding motorcycles. The motorcycle rides. Mostly riding the motorcycles.
Chris Martin with Faith Rider Motorcycle Ministry says this was a unique addition to the event.
So we're giving the kids the rides. Most of them are the first time they've ever rode on a motorcycle. It's different. I don't think giving kids motorcycle rides is something normally you'd see at a citywide event like this. Yeah. So it's totally different, and the kids seem to have loved it.
Along with providing the community with a fun event, the church was also able to show that despite the pause on gatherings, they still care for their members. In Fairland, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Those in attendance say the family event was a nice way to return to a sense of normalcy. Well, today, Vice President Kamala Harris began a trip to Guatemala and Mexico. But Air Force Two experienced a mechanical problem, forcing a return to Joint Base Andrews to switch planes, and she's now on her way. CBS's Ed O'Keefe is in Antigua with a preview of the Vice President's trip.
Vice President Harris comes to Guatemala on her first international trip since taking office after spending the last few months on an issue with no easy answer.
I'm there to listen as much as I am to share perspective.
The Vice President's intense focus on the root causes of immigration has drawn close scrutiny and criticism from Republicans who say she should focus instead on the U.S.-Mexico border. On Monday, she's set to meet at Guatemala's National Palace with the world leaders she's discussed the issue with most frequently. President Alejandro Yamatei.
We're not on the same side of the coin. We are in agreement in the what, which is something. We're not in agreement in the how.
Okay. Yamatei says increased border crossings have been caused in part by the change of administrations in Washington.
The message changed too. We're going to reunite families, and we're going to reunite children. The very next day, the Coyotes were here organizing groups of children to take them to the United States.
But for those who do leave or let their children head north, American politics never crosses their mind.
We don't have water or electricity. We don't have any money to buy food.
What kind of help do you need?
Here, water and electricity.
Guatemala is a country of more than 16 million people, similar in geographic size to Ohio. More than 24 indigenous languages are spoken here in addition to Spanish, and it's the poorest of the poor who often opt to leave. Harris cites a poor economy, violence fueled by the drug trade, and climate change as leading causes of the immigration wave. But she's also focused on the region's long history of government corruption, meeting recently with former Guatemalan prosecutors and judges ousted by the National Congress. Yamatei says she should focus elsewhere.
There was someone else more corrupt than a government of this size like ours?
King.
Narco-traffickers.
To fight the drug war, Yamatei says Harris plans to announce that the Justice Department will partner with Guatemalan prosecutors to target transnational crime. The White House wouldn't comment. After Guatemala, Harris heads to Mexico, where she plans to meet with that country's president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
We take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Robert Farrar served in the Navy from 1954 to 1974, his hometown, Joplin. We're proud to recognize Robert Farrar, tonight's four-state hero. And let's look at our top stories and a quick check of the forecast on the KOAM News at 10. Still ahead, the Biden administration continuing the push to get Americans vaccinated before July 4th. The progress isn't where it needs to be. That story next. The U.S. is tracking to fall short of President Biden's goal of having 70% of Americans vaccinated with at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, while the push to get more shots in arms comes at the same time of a recent uptick in COVID hospitalizations among teens. Polo Sandoval reports.
The Biden administration's 4th of July deadline of having 70% of adults vaccinated against COVID-19 is fast approaching, as the country's vaccination rate shows some improvement. On Friday, the average number of shots administered daily trickled up to just over 1 million a day, reports the CDC. The latest stats also show just over half of the country has received at least one vaccine dose. The nation's top infectious disease expert confident the goal will be reached, but it will be an uphill battle.
It ain't over till it's over. And it is not over yet. And that's one of the things we've got to make sure we don't fall into that trap. Because if we do, we could get another surge, particularly with variants floating around, that could set us back.
This week, another round of promising lows. The U.S. recorded a 7-day average of about 15,000 new COVID cases per day on Friday. That's the lowest since March 2020. Average daily COVID deaths also low. But a CDC study has seen an uptick in 12 to 17-year-olds hospitalized with the virus. Now the focus is on unvaccinated youth.
And now pediatric cases are accounting for about 25% of total COVID cases. As adults get vaccinated and become more protected and immune to this virus, the virus is still in the community looking for a vulnerable host, and pediatric patients fit that description.
Throughout much of the country, health officials are reaching out to young people from nightclubs to school campuses.
I wanted to come get my vaccine because it's going to benefit me, because the summertime, and also because I have to go to school and I have to get the vaccine to go to school and to also be safe.
With more than 2/3 of adults in Massachusetts having received their first shot, the state is shifting its vaccination strategy to a more community-based approach. State officials will start gradually closing mass vaccination sites later this month, starting with Gillette Stadium on June 14th. This week, Las Vegas fully reopened. The city's Convention and Visitors Authority planning a massive 4th of July fireworks display to mark a return to pre-pandemic times. Some pre-pandemic sounds are filling New York City's subway system this weekend for the first time in over 14 months.
It's up to you, New York, New York.
The city's Metro Transit Authority resumed its popular Music Under New York program after being paused by the pandemic.
Woo, it's good to be back.
Nearly 63% of U.S. adults have received at least one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine as of Saturday morning, according to CDC data. Nick Kelly is up next with what our forecast has to hold.
Scattered rain and storms were back in action again today, but from our time lapse of Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri, looks as though the rain dodged the casino grounds as we continue throughout the afternoon and evening. Again, it was another day with the returning warmth and humidity that once we got past the quiet morning, we had the scattered rain and thunderstorms popping up. Nothing severe, but some of them did produce some heavy pockets of rain. On the average across the entire area, most of you didn't see a whole lot, maybe 1/10 of an inch if you were lucky. Other areas in southwest Missouri where the rain really came on down, between 1/2 inch and almost 2 inches of rainfall just from today's storms alone. But like the past few days, once we lost the heating of the day, we're looking quiet now, and I think we'll stay quiet during the overnight hours. Right now, 7th and range line, partly to mostly cloudy, but we're dry at 10:16, almost 10:17 on this Sunday night. 69 with the humidity at 90%. That means with some areas, if you can get a little bit of clearing, maybe some patchy fog overnight. Otherwise, again, we're dry as everyone is falling back into the upper 60s and lower 70s, thinking mid-60s for tomorrow morning, while we still keep an eye on this storm system spinning across eastern Oklahoma. It's not at the surface, though. At the surface, we do have the clockwise flow around the high in the Carolinas, continuing to bring in moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, but upstairs, there's that upper level low. That's what's been driving our rain chances for the past few days. As long as it's slow to move along for the next few days, those rain chances will be sticking around. Again, I think we're dry for much of the overnight, but by morning, wouldn't surprise me if we had a random shower or two try to percolate as the morning drive gets underway. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy, lows in the mid-60s. Once we get into the afternoon, we'll just do it all over again. Scattered rain and thunderstorms, nothing severe expected, but like today, if you get underneath one of these showers or storms, maybe some heavy rainfall to watch out for. 64 in the morning, 77 by noon, afternoon highs around 80, with the south breeze light throughout the day at 5 to 10 miles per hour. We'll quiet things down for tomorrow night into Tuesday morning, lows in the upper 60s, and then we'll go back into the lower 80s on Tuesday with yet another shot for scattered rain and thunderstorms with this upper low working through Illinois. But this will move along. Well, not before, though, it gets us a scattered storms again on Wednesday. But by Thursday and the end of the week, that low moves along, and it's all about that upper level ridge, really bringing in some early summer, late spring heat as we head toward the end of the week. 80 tomorrow, 82 Tuesday, 84 Wednesday, and pushing near 90 Thursday into the next weekend, Chris.
Not a bad forecast overall, except for those rain chances.
Absolutely.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. Cardinals without Molina today.
Yeah, he is expected to avoid the injured list, though, which is a good sign, but he was out for today's game against the Reds. We'll have those highlights coming up. Plus, the Outlaws season is in full swing. Tonight, Joplin hosts the defending Mink League champions as they aim to stay undefeated. All of that next.
KOAM.
This is the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. The Outlaws swept a 2-game series against the Peak Prospects to open up their summer season. Joplin continues a 4-game homestand today, hosting the defending Mink League champions, the St. Joe Mustangs. It's the first game of a 2-game series against the Mustangs. In the first, pitch comes in, it's a dropped third strike. The Outlaws get the easy out at first and turn a double play, catching the runner stealing at third. The next inning, 2 outs, bases loaded, another dropped third strike. That'll get Steen Lane and the Outlaws out of the jam. Joplin finds their offense in the third. They win this one 5-1. Kansas City saw a 5-game winning streak snapped on Saturday with a 5-4 loss to Minnesota. Today, the Royals and Twins play the fourth and final game of the series. In the third, no score until this. Up the third baseline scores the first run of the game for the Twins. But look at this. Throw comes into third and Alex Kirilloff is tagged out for the third out. The bottom four, Andrew Benintendi evens it up with a single down the middle. That drives in Whit Merrifield. Bases loaded in the fifth, Brady Singer hits the batter on the foot. That will score the game-winning run. Tough way to lose. Royals fall 2-1, splitting the series with the Twins. The Cardinals have hit a bit of a bump in the road, dropping their last 4. And on top of that, Yadier Molina was injured in Saturday's 5-2 loss to the Reds after taking a foul ball to the knee. He is considered day-to-day. So without Molina, the Cards finish up their series with the Reds today. It wasn't looking great to start, down 7-0 in the sixth, until Tyler O'Neill here, out to center field over the wall for a 2-run blast. The same inning, Cards coming back, now 7-5, and Nolan Arenado ties up the game with a single that scores 2. A 7-run inning for the Cards, and we've got a ball game. Then in the ninth, Jesse Winker can't be stopped today. Third home run of the day here, 17th on the season. He goes 3 for 4 with 3 homers and 6 RBI, and the Reds get by the Cards 8-7 to win all 4 games of the series. The Webb City boys track and field team won the program's first ever state title last week. Head coach Dustin Miller sits down in the studio with sports director Jacob Leonard next.
Welcome back to the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. We're sitting down now with Dustin Miller, head track and field coach at Webb City High School. Of course, the boys won their first ever state championship last week. First off, Coach, thank you so much for being out here.
Hey, thanks for having me. We appreciate the coverage.
I want you to take me back to the moment at state, when it hit you, when you look up and said, man, we did it, we're state champs. What was that moment? When was that moment, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, so we knew we had scored the top 6 teams going into the meet. Kearney kind of came out of nowhere and had a really good meet, so we had to start counting points on them about midway through. It was a surreal moment because you had that, the excitement of being state champs and walking by. I was away from the team at the time and walked by all the team and let them know, hey, we're state champs, nobody can beat us. But then had to shift back to coaching mode and remember that we had a 4x4 out there that we thought had a shot to place top 3 and needed to keep those guys focused because we had 3 seniors who were a little upset about some earlier events on the day.
So what was it like for you personally? Was it excitement, energy? Was it relief? What were you feeling when you realized that you guys had done it?
Yeah, I would say relief. Like finally we had done it. I put some high expectations on myself. I'm just a competitive guy. That's what I do. And so coming into Webb City and you see softball, baseball, both basketball programs and football have all won state titles in the last 20 years. I put an expectation on myself to get that done, and it was just super exciting, really surreal. I couldn't process it fully.
I'm going to ask you about your senior class in just a second, but I want to ask about Mekhi Gerard because obviously first in long jump, second triple jump.
Yeah.
He's obviously a special kid.
He is.
What makes him so special?
Mekhi's he's cool. He's chill all the time. He's willing to dedicate himself and work at his craft, but he never lets big moments get to him. So some of the guys said, we want Mekhi in a pressure situation. Like if he got dunked on in basketball, he'd just shrug his shoulders and go down the other end and play as hard as he could. He just didn't let little things get in his way. And so for him, all season long, jumping against the Joplin kid that was really good, the Fowler kid, Mekhi battled it out with that kid, and he does his best every time, and you don't have to worry about him losing his mind in the middle of the competition.
I want to ask you about this senior group now. This is something, man, that they wanted. What was it about this group that made them, the group to finish it off and get you guys that championship?
Yeah, so it kind of started sophomore year when all of them qualified for state. We had several sophomores. We were in diapers at the time. We had a lot of 11th, 12th, 13th place finishes that day. we had our worst program finish in the history of me being there. You know, we finished 11th, which it wasn't for lack of effort. That's just who we were that year. And so we knew last year we had a chance to, I thought we had a chance to win a state championship last year. And worst case scenario, end up 3rd or 4th. And then for that to get ripped away from us after being so close 4 other times, it was like, golly, when are we ever going to get a chance? And these guys just, we hit big marks early. We got some guys healthy later in the season. We hit some other big marks later. It just came together. They were a group that stayed focused through everything. We had some really terrible meets, some great competition. Willard and Joplin's teams had some special groups this year, and our guys just always stayed cool, calm, collected, always asking me, hey, how's the team doing? That's the only question they ever asked during the meets. Made it hard to count points sometimes, but you know, that was just them. They wanted to do what they could do for the team, and now they get rewarded with their names on the back of the bleachers forever.
All right, Coach, I certainly appreciate you coming out here, and congratulations on getting over that hump, getting that first state championship. I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back.
Nick, final check of that forecast.
We're quiet for the overnight, but more rain, more thunderstorms back in action tomorrow. Scattered in nature like the past few days. 80 tomorrow, 82 Tuesday, 84 Wednesday. We're going to taper off on the rain chances throughout the coming week, Chris, but as we do, we're going to see highs starting to push near 90 come Thursday.
I feel for you, Danny, and for Leonard, because 91 degrees shooting sports, that's going to be a challenge.
As soon as I saw that number, I was thinking, what am I going to be doing on that day?
At least you didn't come down here during the summer of 2012. That was a miserable summer.
We've
so
had
many days over 100. Then we don't want to talk about that right now.
No, we don't. Nick, Danny, thank you so much. It's our time for now. Thanks for making us part of your night.